Good morning, and welcome to the next edition of Behavior Patterns. Today, we're going to talk about cycles. And the reason I want to kind of get into cycles is because these are things that I noticed when I was with Nick. Now, even though the circumstances might not be the same in your situations, maybe there will be similarities, and I'm hoping that telling all of this shit not only helps me, but might help somebody else. So maybe me talking about how I made these conclusions or came to these conclusions will help somebody else open their eyes and see some of the shit for themselves. Because it's hard when they keep you in a fog to keep your blinders from completely blinding you. I will say that, when he made that first attempt on my life, he turned this into a game of survival and a battle of wits. There is no other way to word that for me. I needed to get out safe with my children. And I knew he wasn't going to make it easy to do that. So I had to learn him. I had to really take a step back, and I was always supposed to be with him. Even when he was at work, when he was in the army, I was supposed to be with him. So we were always around people. And I guess I'll talk about this one as the first cycle. So I started noticing that Nick would tell these jokes. And it would be these two specific jokes. And there was one day, we're up there, we're outside. I got the girls with me. We're sitting outside, and you're supposed to smoke in a designated area. So we would sit there, and whoever would come out throughout the day, and they'd have a cigarette and whatnot. And, they'd interact with the kids for a minute, whatever. It was one of the places where there was shade and the hot sun. So that's where we would sit. And sometimes Nick would come out, and there'd be a group of, 5, 6, 7 guys. And they'd all start telling jokes, or Nick would initiate telling jokes. And this one day he told the same joke, and I hate this joke, but I'm going to tell it because I can't. There's no way to describe the shock without it. He would start with racist jokes. Then he would go to dead baby jokes. And he would watch their reactions to see, who are my people? Who are the people who are deranged enough to, if I start slipping, overlook it? And then he would tell, how do you get a 5-year-old girl to cry twice? Wipe your bloody dick on her teddy bear. And no, why? And that was one of those moments that struck me. I know I've talked about that before, where you're struck and you start realizing that things aren't fucking normal. Yeah, that was one of those moments for me. And he told that joke 3 times in the same day, in the same succession of 3 jokes. Several times in the same day. And I was like, why are you some of the same people were here the first time you told it. But I started watching him when he would tell it instead of everybody else's reactions, because I knew what was coming. And I started watching him tell these jokes. And he would watch them. And I could see it written all over his face, whether or not he was satisfied with the reaction. And the answer to that would depend on his mood for the next however long. If he made people uncomfortable and they walked away, he knew that those people were not the people that he was going to be able to get away with shit with. If they got quiet but stuck around, he knew those people were the ones that would be easy to kind of manipulate. But the ones who were like really ha-haing about it, those were going to be his best buddies. And that's how he would find people. That's how he finds people to be around him. Like, he's constantly looking for certain attributes out of certain people, out of different groups of people, so that he can use them to his advantage later. And he knows that those people who are laughing are going to be the ones that are egging him on, helping him out right along the way. But that was kind of a cycle of how he would gauge people. And for like 2 to 3 years, I got to hear those jokes over and over again. And it just really does something to you, you know? And a little one I want to get into, I don't want to get too much into it because it could take the whole video to discuss it. The whole like, hey, you did this thing. And then they turn it around and they're like, oh, well, you don't have any proof. So they demand proof. And now you're running around like fucking psychotic, delusional ass Nancy Drew looking for what the fuck is wrong with you. And yet you're still questioning your reality. So you're FBI in the bitch. Look, if you're going to turn me into that, that's exactly what I will be. That's what you asked for. And then you want a proof that you're going to then deny is in existence, even though we're both staring at it right there. The cycle of keeping you feeling like you're crazy. That's part of it. I want to talk about the suicide cycle a little bit. And I'm pretty sure I've touched on this before. But I noticed, like, I'm going to give an example here. Whenever he would do something that was fucked up and people would call him out on it, that's when he would fucking threaten it. Whenever somebody would be like, whenever more than me was telling him, hey, you should go seek help. There ain't something right upstairs. That's when he would threaten it. When he is confronted with the consequences of his actions. Example, and here's one with many witnesses. We were over at Lori and John's, and Lori, for those who don't know, is Nick's mother's best friend. She is now deceased, unfortunately, but we were over there. And he was just getting out of we were visiting for a month, I think is what it was. It could have been when he was getting out. Might have been. At any rate, Nick was sitting on the couch. And one of Lori and John's kids was sitting on the couch next to him. A girl. And I want to say she was like 12, roughly. And Nick pinched her so hard on her fucking arm. She ended up with a bruise this fucking big around. And it welted. It left a knot. And it was an instant bruise. This girl whelped. Like, she whelped. She yelped and then wept. And we kind of had like this intervention in a way. everybody was sitting there and John was talking to Nick about, there's been some things throughout the years that have really made him question whether or not he's all right in the head. And he's seen some shit since we were back that made him wonder. And this was like the final straw. You really should go get some help. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I am not alone anymore. Like, I can speak up. So I started. And I was like, you really should go get some help. Like, I wasn't bringing up instances, but I was like, can we fucking do that? Like, that would be great. It's time. You're not in the military anymore. Now you can take care of yourself. And like, I don't have to carry the weight of all of that anymore. Can we do something about this now? And like, you let everybody else start to see you're fucking crazy. So can we do this? No, I'm just going to go walk out in traffic. I'm going to go throw myself out in front of a semi truck. I'm going to go wrap my truck around a tree. I'm going to just do this. And I took my ring off and I put it in his hand and I was like, see you later. I did. I was like, if that's really what you want to do, here you go. Don't let me stop you. After a very long time of putting up with shit and being afraid of what civilian life was going to be like, there was no more deployments to save me. There was no more month-long training missions to defuse a situation. There was not going to be any of that. It was going to be full-time, oh fuck. Here we go. I'm going to end up dead before the decade's over. So we should do something about this. Nope. Absolutely refused. Turned it into a whole big thing. And then nobody even remembered why the fuck we were there anymore. Him doing what he did to her was not even a topic of discussion. I'm sure he was told not to be around the girls. But yeah. So, suicide cycle. When confronted with the things they've done. Want to kind of talk about the breakthrough cycle. Breakthrough cycles where they make you believe that you're making progress. And you know what? With Nick, I legitimately feel like I made progress with him where probably nobody else could. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but Nick didn't have to hide from me. I know exactly who he is. And now, so do you. Well, you're learning. I guess in a way, all of this is my failsafe. If I have to die because I know all of his secrets, and I have betrayed him, that's how he sees it in his mind. So if that's what happens, they can use all this. But I'm hoping that me just telling everybody is like, well, your secret's out. You can leave me the fuck alone now. Because nothing else I have tried has worked. And since he wanted my attention so bad, he can be what I focus on. You got it, motherfucker. You got all my attention. So much of it, you're gonna fucking hate it. Going back to breakthroughs, though. There would be points in time where I would get through to him. You know, he would tell me, and eventually I will tell these stories. But he would tell me about, the dark fantasies he was having, the things that he was thinking about doing, the things that he really wanted to do to women, and, go pick up a random girl and just hold her captive and do all of this shit to her, and just all of the stuff he was telling me that he wanted to do to people. And I would spend so much time like researching and, trying to like figure out how to navigate the mind of somebody like that without setting them off, because I really don't want them to fucking turn all of that shit on me. So I have to tiptoe around all of this shit the entire time and tell this man, hey, there's something fucking wrong with you. And the only way you're going to be able to get through it is to accept it. Like, there it is. Black and white. You told me all of this shit. Do you see this? Do you, like, I'm not telling you this is what you are. You read this shit. I went and found it all for you. You read all the shit and you make your own assumption. And then you come to me and we'll have an honest conversation. And we would. And that's kind of how I got to know him, the real him, because it would be in those moments where he'd be like, okay, this is real. This is what it is for me. And I'd be like, okay, now we have a baseline and we can try to figure it out from here. Because he would not go to therapy. He would not. He refused. He knew while he was in the military, like, if he told anybody about this shit, they were going to fucking kick him out of the military, for one. Probably dishonorable discharge, like he's woohoo. And they might actually start looking into some of the shit that was going on both times he was in Korea. And the first time was weird. It was so weird the way they just like hush shut that whole base down. The whole base. It doesn't exist anymore. And they sent all these guys home early. It wasn't a planned thing. The guys didn't even know it was happening until I think it was 13 days before they came home. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think that's part of why I was like, oh, maybe there's more to all these vanishing juicy girls when he was talking about them and how it would be easy to make them disappear and shit. But after I would go through all of this research and, we would get to that point where we had the conversation, then it would be my responsibility to try and figure out a way to deal with it, to manage it, do more research now that he's in agreement that there's something wrong and we agree together that this is probably what it is. Now we have to, how do we remedy? And it would be a lot of trial and error. And you have to study somebody when you're dealing with somebody with psychological things. I had to figure out what worked and what didn't. Like I said, he made this a game of fucking survival for me. The best thing that I could do is manipulate my manipulator. As much as I hate to say it, I am absolutely 100% fucking capable of it. But I don't use it for nefarious fucking reasons. I don't like that part of me. It feels like it infects people. Once they start fucking doing it, they just keep fucking doing it. They don't know how to turn it off once they go. I don't want to be that person. So there were moments where I would have to cater to this sick individual in different ways so that he wouldn't do all of these awful things. And I know it sounds bad. It does. Me saying it like, is this really my story? Is this really what I'm telling people? And I expect a lot of judgment. That's okay. Because even though I'm hoping this stops him, saves me and my kids, I'm hoping it saves fucking everybody else he comes into contact with too. And I guess if all I have to deal with is a little bit of judgment and a little bit of hate, and somebody else might stay alive, fucking yay me. Bring it on. Don't care. I'll take it. I'm used to it. Those cycles, though, would always end up back at the beginning of, hey, you did this thing. Because he couldn't keep it up. He could only go so far with it. So that it would always end up right back at the beginning. And then I would have to try and find something new that would work. Or he would see that it would be working too fucking well. And he would intentionally sabotage the shit. He would intentionally fuck shit up. Like he would notice, oh fuck, this bitch is manipulating the fuck out of me to behave myself, and it's working. I need to do something. And he would. Yes, he would. This is why I think I'm probably one of the only people that can do it, is because I've seen it work. I know that I was holding him together, but it was one of those things that I didn't realize that it was happening in the moment. For me, in the moment, it was survival. It was, fuck, I got to figure out how to keep this motherfucker stable. It wasn't like, okay, I got to manipulate him. Looking back on it, though, I see that it was. I was manipulating him to behave himself, to not be a dick, to be a better dad, I shouldn't have to fucking parent somebody. And it felt like that sometimes. Like I had to be his fucking mother. And his mom wasn't even a mom. She fucking passed her kids off on everybody else. I guess the last cycle I'm going to talk about today is the pedestal cycle. And I know that I've mentioned the pedestal before, like he will put you on it and then kick it and jerk off on it afterwards because, you know, he's sadistic and he likes to see you in pain. It's not metaphorical. He will. But the pedestal cycle is like, I'm going to give my example. So when we would be out every day with all of his military people, okay, I would have to look like I was slumming it, right? And I don't care what I look like, so be mad. I would have to be slumming it because he wouldn't want anybody to like try and hit on me or anything. But then he would have an event happen, or you know, they'd be gone for a while and, you know, there'd be some big homecoming fucking deal. And I would have to make a statement, you know, not just go buy a dress, go get a dress and have it fitted. Make sure your hair's done. You have to look top tier. He wants you to make that statement. He wants you to turn heads when you walk in the door. And then don't you go rushing up to him. He will come find you. Not kidding you. I carried all of his gear in from a fucking deployment in heels through gravel. Several hundred feet to the car. While all of his soldiers gave him shit. And then he said, "Nuh-uh, my bitch a beast, she got it." He likes that. You have to make him look good. And then after having thoroughly appeased his sense of arrogancy and ego, I was then expected to make invitations to certain people, and he would let me know who those people would be. And then I would have to entertain at home, and I was perfectly happy with this because it meant I got a break from all of his crazy. I could focus on keeping a guest happy instead of tiptoeing so he doesn't explode behind closed doors. Now there's somebody in my house. There's a witness. I can relax and breathe a little bit. So the more I had people over, the more I cooked for people, the happier I made people, the more they would come around, the more time he would have with these people to figure out whether or not they were going to be somebody he would want to have around. I didn't care what his motives were. Like with dudes, I didn't care. Like, fucking whatever. Do the damn thing, bro. Don't care. But with women, I was worried about women around him because I knew who he was. But after they would come around, one of them would take it too far, and he would want to parade me around in front of him. And, he would make this big deal about saying, oh, I love my wife. Like, he'd come home and he'd tell me, oh, all the guys all they do is bitch about their old ladies. And he's like, I really don't have anything to bitch about with you. You're amazing. I love you, and he would toot me up in front of people. He really would make it look like he worshiped the ground I walked on. Like whatever I said, he did. That's the way he would make it look. No. Very short-breathed. Because as soon as one of the motherfuckers took it too far, and he was flat out asked if one of them could fuck me. Not by me. They would ask. Because of how he would parade me around. And then he would get all upset about it, and I'd have to go back to slumming it. So, like, the whole, I don't know why you're wearing fucking makeup. Trying to go behind my back. No. Looking like a fucking clown. Go ahead, degrade me some more. That's how I feel about it now. Like. But anyways, there's some cycles for you. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day. If not, I'm sorry. I hope it gets better. I know it's hard. Keep trying. We will get there. It just takes a little time.